You know, if you're passionate about anything, no matter what it is, it could be film, books, cars, music, whatever it is, if you've got that passion, you want to share that passion with other people. For me personally, I actually started this YouTube channel because I'm passionate about video games. I love talking about games. I love just having that discussion. And if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know that at the end of any video, I encourage you to have a passionate discussion about whatever it is that we're talking about on my channel. Hopefully it's respectful, but passionate nonetheless. That's kind of what we are as gamers on YouTube. We're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about video games. And one of the more passionate game communities out there is the Sid Meier's Civilization community. And with Civilization 7 releasing almost a whole month ago now, fans are definitely passionate about discussing everything to do with Civilization 7. All of the things that it does better than the previous games and all of the things that it does worse than the previous games. And to talk more about Civilization 7, I'm really excited to introduce to you my friend Steven Castleberry, who's going to talk to us today about why he is so passionate about Civilization 7. I'll leave a link to Steven's channel down in the pinned comment below as well as the description. But Steven is going to talk a lot about what he loves and what can be fixed about Civilization 7. So I'm really excited to share that with you. So without further ado, Steven, take it away.
Sid Meier's Civilization 7 launched recently, and I have been looking forward to the game for months. But let's just say the Civ community has not cared for it too much. Most complain that the UI is hard to read, confusing, and just not the easiest on the eyes. Many complain that the game feels rushed, incomplete, and worlds apart from the titles before it. Others hate locking on to one leader, but switching civs throughout the game. They say it's not called civilizations, just civilization. Still others complain about core components of the game being missing. No British Empire.
You cannot be serious.
That is coming 1 month after the launch as a DLC. No nuclear Gandhi.
There is no shame in deterrence. Having a weapon is very different from actually using it.
I mean, that's prime Civ lore right there. And no more one more turn. The truth is, there's a lot to complain about, and there has been a lot of complaining. The devs have pushed out quick patches, are working on a fixed roadmap, and are seemingly taking responsibility for the negative reaction to this latest installment. But this is not why I'm disappointed in Civ 7. I'm disappointed because one fundamental change to the game: the lack of a clear, uninterrupted story. For previous Civ titles, you played one long, uninterrupted game from the dawn of time to the unspecified future, leading your civilization from antiquity into that distant future. This allowed Civ players to craft their own story, the history in which that particular game lived, to be whatever you wanted. And it was glorious. But that's not Civ 7. Firaxis, the developers of Civ 7, wanted to change things up from Civ 6, which is perfectly understandable. I fell in love with the Civ franchise playing Civ 5. And as expansions came out, Civ 5 went from being a good game to being a great game. When Civ 6 came out, they made some significant changes, but it still felt like a Civ game. And as expansions came out, it went from being a good game to a great one. Knowing that change is to be expected from Civ release to Civ release, I knew that Civ 7 would have significant changes from Civ 6, and it would not have the same polish and refinement as a game that had been perfected over years of continued work. And I was 100% okay with that. But it's not the small changes that were made from Civ 6 to Civ 7 that disappointed me. It was the change from all previous Civ games to this one that jarred me so hard. You see, in Civ 7, your game is broken up into 3 very distinct ages: Antiquity, Exploration, and Modern. This is fewer than Civ 5 and 6, which have 8 and 9 respectively. To be fair, Civ 7 ends sometime in the, 1970s-ish, and therefore doesn't have some of the final eras from Civ 5 and Civ 6. The problem isn't the fewer ages, or even ending earlier than the previous games. It's the transitions in between. In Civ 6, each Civ in the game, you, the player, and the AI players, would move from one era to another as technologies and civics were researched. In Civ 7, at the end of the Antiquity Age and the Exploration Age, there are crises that culminate as the age draws to a close. Now, when I heard about this new mechanic from the devs' live streams and their diaries, I was pumped. History is marked by crises that, if handled well, propel a nation forward, or, if handled poorly, make a nation crumble. This was a welcome change if done right. The crises that were in the game at launch were kind of, meh. At the close of the Antiquity Age, there's a power struggle in all civs that can cause cities and towns, if unhappy enough, to join another civilization. Okay, I kind of expected that. And at the close of the Exploration Age, there was a plague. In practicality, it turned out kind of weird. But these are the kinds of things that I knew would improve over the development cycle. Updates, expansions make Civ so much better. So if that's not the problem, what is the killer problem? It's that the game soft resets at the end of every single age. Yes, the map stays the same. Yes, your leader stays the same. Yes, your towns and cities largely stay the same. But the game goes back to a neutral start after the age transition, like a toddler shaking an Etch-a-Sketch. Were you one turn away from completing a wonder? Oops, it's gone. Were you one turn away from conquering your enemy's capital? Oops, the war is over and your army is now scattered across your empire. Everything is reset, and you're a couple hundred years into the future for some reason. The fatal flaw in Civ 7 is that when an age ends, so much is reset. The game that was a multi-day epic telling one continual story is now chopped up into 3 loosely connected stories. One turn, you're Persia with the Oracle almost completed, about to conquer your enemy neighbor Greece. And then the next turn, you're all of a sudden the Normans with absolutely nothing going on in your production queues, and you are completely neutral with your new neighbor, the Inca. Where's the continuing story in that? And why would Firaxis make that stark of a change? Well, it's because they said in their surveys, no one was actually finishing games. Truth be told, I hardly ever finished a game. Why? Because to me, Civilization is less about achieving a victory type and is more about experiencing a grand story. I don't care if everyone is wearing my blue jeans or if I made it to Mars. I simply wanted to play my game all the way into the future era and experience what my game unfolded to be. And now that's gone. But this is not a poo-poo on Firaxis and Civ 7 video. I also want to talk about how it can be fixed. Because Civ 7, it has a lot of potential. It's beautiful. It's made some interesting changes. And it's even more customizable, meaning more and better stories. So here's what I would do. Number 1, I'd add one more age. I keep the Antiquity and Exploration ages unchanged and change the Modern Age to the Industrial Age and make it end a little sooner, say 1945-ish, at the end of World War II. And then I would add the Information Age, 1945 into the future. Adding one more age is probably something that Firaxis is probably already cooking up in the kitchen for an expansion, although I really think it should have been included at launch. It's honestly kind of dumb that it was. Number 2, I would make age transitions smooth like previous games. No more soft resets. This new feature is simply a swing and a miss. Let's take it out and make moving between ages more like moving between eras in the past. Devs, I know you wanted to make these transitions a way for everyone to catch up and be in the same place before a new age begins. I see your goal there, but it's not worth the reset. Keep the armies in place, keep production queues going, keep relationship statuses the same. You can still change civs. You can still keep the in-age mini victories. Just keep the game going without resets and skips. Keep the story alive. 3, mix up the crises. In Civ 7, crises are the hard end to the first 2 ages. Though I'd be removing the soft reset in my version of the game, I'd keep the crises and I'd make them even better. Here's what I would do. First, I'd give them more variation. Like I said earlier, there are 2 crises and there are only 2 crises. It's repeated every single game. Boring and predictable. I'd make 3 types of crises: hostility, outbreak, and crash. These 3 types would be randomized at the end of each age. So you'd get a little variety and it would be harder to plan for them. So let's break down those 3 types. Hostility would be like barbarians from past games, but made to work well in each age. Land-based barbarians in antiquity, sea-based raiders in exploration, production-breaking saboteurs in the industrial, and randomly spawning terrorists in the information age. Having armies, navies, spies, etc. would help mitigate these crises. Outbreak. It would be like the plague crisis currently in Civ 7, but again, made to match each age. A local pestilence in antiquity, a regional plague in exploration, a global pandemic in industrial, and a catastrophic lab leak in the information age. Each causes population and production loss, and having a high science yield in buildings like hospital would help mitigate these crises. Crash would be a food or economic disaster, a local famine in antiquity, a regional crop crash in exploration, a global stock market crash in the industrial, and a demographic collapse in information. Each causes population and gold loss. Having a stockpile of gold and buildings like warehouses would help mitigate these crises. In each of these, you'd have a decision to make on how you would handle the crisis. For hostility, you would have aggression, +5 combat strength when fighting hostiles outside of your territory, or protection, +5 combat strength when defending against hostiles in your territory. For outbreak, lockdown, 25% reduction in the outbreak and 25% reduction in happiness in your empire. Or liberty, the outbreak is boosted by 25% and happiness is boosted by 25%. For crash, free trade, foreign trade routes are boosted 50%, or fair trade, internal trade routes are boosted 50%. And a successful navigation of each of these crises would grant a special legacy card, making the crisis worth it. Unsuccessfully navigating a crisis causes unhappiness to radiate throughout the empire for a set number of turns. This unhappiness and all unhappiness in the game, if left unchecked, leads to my next thing. Number 4, rebellion. Rebellion is a crisis of its own kind and can happen at any time when unhappiness is especially high. But this rebellion is different than in previous Civ games. Each age introduces new modifiers that increase the likelihood of rebellion. In antiquity and beyond, the greater the distance between a city or town and your capital means that a town will rebel more quickly than one closer to your capital. In exploration and beyond, a city following another religion than the one you founded is more likely to rebel. In industrial and beyond, a city near a civilization following another ideology will be more likely to rebel. In information, a new spy mission called propaganda can cause rebellions or, once it's rebelled, influence a rebelling city to join your civilization. When a city rebels, you'll have 10 turns to recapture it, or it may join an adjoining civilization if it's influenced enough by it. Like if it's the same religion or the same ideology, then that kind of gives it its own boost. However, if a rebelling city isn't influenced enough to join another civ, it becomes a new independent power. And if 2 or more connected rebelling cities aren't influenced to join another civ, check this out, they become a new civ. Yes, new civs can be brought into the game at the same scientific progression as their previous civ. That's rebellion. See, that's a part of the story of history that Sid Meier and the Firaxis team, they haven't incorporated yet, and I would love to see it. All right, last one, number 5. I would like the game to incentivize end-of-era wars. This one is quick. I tend to play peaceful Civ games. I can even go entire games where my Civ has never entered into a war. If units' production cost became less and less in the last half of the age, it would incentivize aggression. In exploration and beyond, there could be a boost to religious wars with bonuses to having co-belligerents with the same majority religion. In industrial and beyond, there could be a boost to ideological wars with bonuses having co-belligerents with the same ideology. But you would have to start these wars wisely because late age crises still exist, war or peace. So there you go. That is what I would do. Or to use Civ 7's own marketing, that's how I would build something I believed in. At another age, remove the soft resets, mix up the crises, introduce rebellion, and incentivize war. Those things, especially removing the soft resets, would make the game better by making the story better. We humans are story driven. It's the most vital thing in any game. It's more important than graphics or novelty or gameplay. Tell a good story, and you've made a great game that will stand the test of time.
Thank you so much, Steven, for coming onto the channel. When he had first told me that he had this whole video planned out for discussing the story mechanics and the issues that he had with it in regards to Civilization 7, I was just so excited to showcase this. I could feel the passion coming off of him. I really hope that you all enjoyed this discussion, and go ahead down in the comments below and let me know what you would do different about the story mechanics to Civilization 7. Would it be through updates to Civ 7, or would you do it to Civ 8? Let me know all in the comments down below. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell as well, so that you're notified whenever new videos like this go up. But with all of that said, go ahead again down below into the pinned comment and the description box below. Subscribe to Steven's channel. He's got wonderful content over there, and maybe in the future we'll do more collaborations like this. And with all of that said, I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.